Good morning. Happy Friday. Love you, Rodney. Man, I wonder what it's going to be like to not do these anymore. You do something, for a year over and over again, and now 2 years over and over again. It's going to feel different. I got to find other ways to cope, and I think I've done that. This morning, I woke up, it was like 5:50 a.m. and I went to go look at my phone like I normally do these days. And I laid my phone on top of my Bible because I've been reading it with my girl. And so it's right there by my bedside. And I decided to do something different today. I've got some past trauma that, I don't really share on here. I share about my journey of staying clean. I share about my struggles throughout the day or relationship challenges that I've had over the last couple of years. But I don't really share about the trauma that I had. I do that to protect the anonymity of people in my past. Because anybody watching this, they might know who I'm talking about. And if I'm talking in a negative manner, it's blowing their anonymity. And I really find value in that, not sharing somebody's inventory, even if it's some past shit. So I don't do that. And but there's some stuff. There's some stuff from my first marriage and my last long-term relationship. That's 16 years in one and 12 years in another. And I try to share my side of the street, my drug use, my psychotic episodes while on drugs, my paranoia, all of that. My part. What part did I play in causing trauma as well? And, looking back, I see a lot of it. I was really good at playing the angel while I was being a devil. And people who knew me prior to believed it until they saw a consistency of me, calling in and stealing, like I stole a truck. I like to say borrowed, but nobody said I could use it. I was fired from job after job, went from dealership to dealership, moved from state to state. I caused some trauma in my kids and my exes. So that's what I'll share on this. And as I'm coming here in terms of the close of the video sessions that I do, I want to get back to why I started talking about this. There's some triggers that happen in me that I don't think I realize. I mean, I know they're happening, but I don't think I realize what's going on there. And when I look at the last relationships that I've had, including the current one that I'm in, I notice there's some tendencies in this last 8 months, I've done a really good job. I want to say dry knuckling it. Just like, okay, I'm going to focus on God instead, which is, I don't know if that's a dry knuckle thing. Going to work and not saying anything, not doing these, not writing, that's more of a dry knuckle. I'm just going to grind it out. Real men don't share their feelings, like that kind of fucking shit. I don't do that. But I haven't really gotten to the psychology of it all. I haven't really gone through counseling for it all. And even the counseling that I did the first year, 2021 to 2022, or maybe 2020 to 2021, I didn't really dive into that. I still was in that relationship, so going through counseling and staying in that when I needed to change my people, places, and things wasn't really helping. Making the money I didn't help either. I find the real work has been, not only do I struggle with certain things, but now I got to focus on these bills too. How am I going to handle this? And still make a meeting when I got to be home making dinner, and then still find a way to connect with the kids, and find a way to somehow fit cleaning in there as well. And I'm doing good, but not the best I can. And so I think that getting through the mentals will help, because when I'm triggered in any way, shape, or form, it's hard for me to do anything, let alone focus. And I just don't want to live like that anymore. And I think I put enough time under my belt to where I can say, I've consistently gone to the gym, I've consistently changed the way I live, I've consistently done activities to change my life consistently over a long period of time. And now I can say, okay, let's add something to the tool belt. I almost said repertoire. One of my favorite people on the planet hates that word, so I'm trying to change some of my vernacular. Vocabulary. I don't know, whatever it is. But I popped on, so kudos to Mel Robbins. I don't want to not say that, about repairing my looking back at past trauma and repairing my nervous system. And it was random on my feed, but right before that, I opened up the Bible. I let my thumb land on a section, and it was Proverbs 13. It was Proverbs 2:13 through 16, and it talked about wisdom and how wisdom is more powerful is more valuable than rubies and jewels and wealth. Wisdom is definitely what I'm looking for right now. And so being able to read that, share that with somebody instead of share some bullshit, and then go right into, okay, let's try something in terms of psychology, and that popped on. And what I've found in listening to that is that there's a way to fix it, repair it. God's going to take all of these broken pieces, and instead of me trying to put them, glue them all together to put the vase back together, the vase, the vase, the bowl back together, and have all these holes where it looks like Swiss cheese, what God's going to do is God's going to take all of those broken pieces, and God's going to put it in fire and melt it and reform it, so the old me turns into the new me. And I needed to consistently get time under my belt, multiple years of recovery, get back to where I was. I needed to work on steps again. I needed to get a sponsee again. I needed to change my physique so I didn't feel like I was washed anymore. I needed to repair my relationships at work. And I needed to make some changes at home. And in all of that, I had some failed relationships where, they were stepping stones, which got me to what I believe is the right relationship. And in this relationship, because it's healthy, when this person needs space, and this person, I don't know what that's like. I'm so used to codependency. I'm so used to, just attachment. And even in the mix of the last couple of months, I'm researching Stoicism and learning how to detach, learning how to. But now the next phase is, mental health, and it's amazing what she says in there that really our nervous system is really the cause. Your mental health is one thing, your nervous system is another. You can be working on your mental health, but your nervous system is triggered, and then all of a sudden you feel a certain way, and there's nothing you can really do about it unless you can find a way to balance that out and acknowledging that it's happening. And so I really, really am grateful to have listened to that. I noticed myself doing that. It was like an hour and 18 minutes, and I was cleaning while I was listening to it. And so I didn't just like get up, with just enough time to get to the gym and get the kids off. I did something extra, something different. And I also, I'm learning that. And I think that's where I need to be, the next phases. I know I need to get a counselor, but, I also know that, and I have health insurance. So I know I need to do that. So I'm calling myself out there. I know I need to, but I also know that there's stuff online. There are people online, Jay Shetty and Mel Robbins, and the first phase of my stuff is the motivational speakers who let me know that I'm worth it. Let me know that I'm not washed. And then Mel Robbins, when she explained that she didn't really notice this until she was 49, really lifted me up in terms of where I feel my age is. Because I look at that woman and I'm like, wow, like, yes, it's amazing, like I don't feel too old, and I'm not knocking her age. What I'm saying is that she's vibrant, and she's, I just really liked watching that. So it gave me a lot of hope. And so there's a lot of tools online. Instead of looking at my feed and trying to fix my mental health there through those shorts, I can spend some extra time listening to that kind of stuff. And then I hop back in the gym, and I had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful workout. And, I'm coming up on multiple years, 8 days. Like, what am I going to do with these 8 days? Am I going to sit here and just congratulate myself for 8 days and really do nothing to change? Or am I going to dive deep and say, hey, I'm in a place in my life where I want to change even more, where I want to grow even more, where I want to be the best version of myself. I pray every day before I go to work, let me be the best version of myself that I possibly can. What does that mean? Does that mean just saying it? Does that mean just praying for it? Or does it mean actually, what does that mean? Diving in and fixing some things that I have not really looked into. There's some triggers that I have over the last 12 years that anything that looks similar to that, it's going to trigger me to make me feel a certain way. And I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to stay up late wondering. I don't want that. But I can sit down and I can just say I don't want it. And I can just pray, Lord, I don't want this anymore, and do nothing about it. Or I can say, Lord, help me with this. I'm praying for it. And then something like that happens. And then I listen to something that tells me, this is what's going on with you. This is where we're starting. And actually do something about it. So consistency, like the push-ups I did, maybe what I'll do is listen to something, 3 times a week for 90 days or something like that, but for the next 90 days. And if I can consistently do that, then I'll call and get a counselor that I can speak to, once a week or twice a month, and really be able to not self-diagnose myself with what's going on. But that really helped me today, and this journey of multiple years has been wonderful. I've obtained some fruit out of it that I want to take with me for the rest of my life, and I am a better person today. It's not just that I'm clean, it's what I've done for myself. What have I done for myself? Because I love myself. And in doing that, what have I gained? I don't want to sit back and say, why am I dealing with this again? I want to say, what can I do about this to change it? And I think that it starts there, my nervous system. Because that's what happens. It gets out of whack, and I'm calling it anxiety, and I'm calling it all these other things as if I'm a psychologist or I went to school and I know what's going on, and I don't. If I really knew the answer, then I would have already fixed it, and I don't. But I can listen to the experts and the people who actually know what they're talking about to figure out what's going on. And the beauty of YouTube is that it's on there if I want it, and I get to choose who I'm listening to, and I don't have to necessarily pay for it. I can just listen and subscribe, give kudos, and get better. So that's where I'm at. And I'm grateful, you know, like I wanna go out in these 8 days with a bang, because I got this huge hike ahead of me, and that's gonna close off this video series. I don't think that's gonna close off the hiking season, but that's gonna close off the multiple years season. That was 2 years. Now let's go on for the next year. Let's get to 3 years. You know, let's see what that looks like, because that is unknown territory for me. And just get to that 5-year marker. You know, the percentages are a lot higher if a person could get to 5 years of not relapsing, and I have a good chance now. So that's where I'm at. I love myself enough to do whatever it takes, and not only that, I have a partner, and I owe it to my kids, to my partner. I owe it to my work, to the people I interact with, to do everything I can to be a better version of myself, especially if I'm in their circle. You know, if I'm in somebody's life, do I bring value or do I bring stress? Do I come with abundance or do I come with attachment? Because if I'm coming with an attachment, then I'm sucking from their well, and I'm not providing any oil into theirs. I'm not providing any water into their well. And if I'm just taking, well, what's the difference between getting loaded and doing that and being clean and doing that? I don't think there's any difference, with the exception of more manipulation. Because, hey, I'm clean, so I should, what I get, I deserve that? No. I bring and I get. It's a two-way street. I bring 100%, and then I get 100%. You know, and I think that's the way I want things to be. If I want it to be a well-oiled machine, like I say, then I better come with some good-ass fucking oil. I better come with some value. And that's not just in my partnership with my girl. That needs to be in my partnership with my friends. That needs to be in my partnership with my work, with my kids. You know, I do believe that I have what it takes, and I have grinded enough, or I do grind hard, and I do put it in, you know, and put in the work, and so that's where that's where I'm at, and I hope everybody has a good day today, and I'm glad I can make myself laugh. That's all I got. I'm out.